What's up, YouTube? It's Iowa the Boat. Tenya Iida is a 6 hand size, 28 health character. We are playing this budget build under Void. Let's go through Tenya Iida's abilities. Tenya Iida's first ability is Response. Once per turn after an attack is played, it gets +3 or -3 speed. If it is your attack, your rival commits 1 foundation for each time they play an enhanced ability during its enhanced step. So what this effectively does is you can make one of your attacks during your attack turn into an attack that has +3 speed, and then there's also a underlying condition, and this can work with any attacks in the deck. So let's just say we have like a hardened jab, it would get +3 speed, and then for each time your opponent plays an enhanced ability during the enhanced step, they must commit a foundation. Iida's second ability is after your rival plays an attack, you may play the first enhanced ability during its enhanced step. So this is more so related to your opponent. So let's just say that your opponent plays an attack, and actually because it's a responsibility and it's not once per turn, you can use this as many times as Tenya Iida is, as long as he is ready in the staging area and not committed. Then you can use a responsibility, and that will allow you to play the first enhance during the enhanced step of your opponent's attack. Because normally, whoever is playing an attack, the owner of the attack gets to play the first enhance. But because Tenya Iida is so fast and then it's built into his kit, you are allowed to play the first enhance during your opponent's attack. This allows for many plays, especially with your foundation base. It'll allow for neat tricks, and then also helping you to catch your opponent off guard because they won't be able to get the first enhance. The ratio of this deck is 18 attacks to 32 foundations. In our attack lineup, we play 4 copies of Engine Rush. Shoutouts to Shane Duckworth because Shane shows us that Engine Rush is in most cases more versatile than its ultra rare counterpart, Recipro Burst. And with Engine Rush, you have similar capabilities of damage output, but the difference is Engine Rush can be used for early game pressure utility. It just feels better to have throughout all times in the game, whereas Recipro Burst you usually want to have that kind of like late towards the game, and you also don't get the utility, which is Engine Rush's first enhance. Commit 1 foundation. If this attack does not block, draw 2 cards. And then second enhance and this enhanced step, that effectively ending the enhanced step just makes it so your opponent can't use any abilities to mitigate your attack, and then you go straight to blocks. The optimal way to play Engine Rush is you play Engine Rush and then you have Iida ready, then you use Iida's first ability to give it +3 speed, and then if your opponent plays an enhance, they have to commit a foundation. This makes the attack very fast. It's going to be almost impossible to block, and then after that you can use Engine Rush's enhance ability, which is commit a foundation, and then if the attack does not block, you get to draw 2 cards. This allows you to either push more attacks, because if you draw an attack you can push more damage, or in most cases what you'll want to do is you'll want to start building foundations so you can be one up on your opponent. And then not only that, this gives you more cards to keep back into your hand so that you can have a better defense turn. So this card really is just straight up value with Iida. Next we play 4 copies of Recipro Extend. Recipro Extend is a very good card because it is a cantrip. When you play this attack, it has enhance, draw 1 card, and then also it has another enhance that doesn't really cost us anything. It says your next kick attack this turn gets +2 speed and +2 damage. So what's really powerful about this card is you play the attack, you enhance draw, and then you can enhance give your next kick attack +2/+2. It's a 4 mid for 4, so it's a pretty fast and fairly damaging attack. Your opponent can block it, they can choose not to block it. But if they block this card, then what will happen is your next attack is going to get +2 speed and +2 damage. So it'll be a 6 mid for 6 in this case, and your opponent will have 1 less card to be able to block this attack, and it's going to be much faster and much stronger. That is why Recipro Extend is probably one of the more powerful cards in this deck, because it's fairly statted and it replaces itself. Next we play 4 copies of Flying Thruster Kick, and my favorite thing about this card is that it has a +1 mid block, so it's a very good card on defense, but also what I love about it is it gets +2 damage as long as it gets a speed buff, and it doesn't really cost us anything. So in this case, it's a really good poke with Iida. If you have this in your hand, you can either keep it for a block, or you can save it later into the chain to deal even more damage to your opponent. Or if this is the only attack in your hand, you can still use this as a poke, because what you do with Iida is you give it 3 speed. It's going to be very difficult to block, and it gets a +2 damage because you gave it speed. So just all around, very nice card. For the last kick attacks that we play in the deck, we play 2 binding kicks. This card isn't exceptionally good like the other ones that we have just went through, but what I like about this card is that it's another way for us to draw cards on our attack. But the real value in this card is that it is a kick, so you can use it with Recipro Extend, and then if you want, you can even poke with it. It's not going to deal a lot of damage, it's dealing 4, but it draws you a card. So it's kind of the opposite of Flying Thruster Kick, because Flying Thruster Kick as a poke, you get more damage, but Binding Kick as a poke, you get to draw a card. For the last cards in our attack lineup, we have Hardened Jab as a 4x, and I have to shout out again to Shane because I put this as a last minute addition to the deck. And what I loved what Shane said about this card is not only does it enhance add 1 foundation from your staging area to your hand and build the top card of your deck face down, there's a lot of hidden value to this card, because when you're attacking and then you have some foundations on the board like so, what you can do is you can say like you committed a foundation for whatever reason, you just have a committed foundation, and the powerful part about Hardened Jab is you can enhance the ability, so you add 1 face down foundation from your staging area to your hand. So now, hey, look, we have a low block to use on defense, and we got that from Hardened Jab. So we have this now, and then we're also going to use the rest of the ability, which is build the top card of our deck face down. So we build this, we put it in our staging area, and bam, we had 1 committed foundation here. It's in our hand now, and then we also got to build 1. So we effectively got to +1 on resource for this turn. And by doing this, this allows us to commit more foundations if we need to attack more. Or we can just be happy that we got a additional block in our hand to defend with. Hardened Jab has a lot of uses, and it's also not bad statted at all. It's a 3 mid for 5 damage, and it also has a +1 high block. And in the My Hero format, I feel like there are more good high attacks and mid attacks, but there are also decent low attacks. There's just not many of them. And that's it for attacks. Let's go into our foundations. We play 4 copies of Manly Passionate Guy. This is probably one of our weaker foundations putting into the deck, but what's nice about it is a 1 difficulty foundation, so it's a spam card. And it is also a low block, which we're going to need those in our deck because you don't want to be caught with your pants down if your opponent plays a low attack and you can't block it. So very good to have this in your deck. The ability on this card is Response Flip. After you block with a foundation, build it face up. So by using this card, it's actually really good in a sense. If you block early, you have Manly Passionate Guy, then you block the attack with a foundation. So you're blocking the attack, you flip Manly Passionate Guy, and then you build this to your staging area face up. That effectively gives you a +1 to your resources. After that, we play 4 copies of Gotcha. This card is also great because it is a 0 diff, 2 low block, and then on the ability it is responds after this card is committed during the enhanced step. This card gets +1 or -1 speed, playable while committed. So effectively this is anti-stun, because if your opponent makes you commit a card in your staging area, you can commit this card, respond, and then the current attack you can give it -1 or +1 speed. This card also combos very well with Engine Rush, because Engine Rush says commit 1 foundation, so you can commit Gotcha, and then it'll have +1 speed. And if you already have Iida on there, then that's going to be a 9 mid for 5 damage attack. If they don't block it, you draw 2. Next up for spam, we have 4 copies of Mediator. With this card, we can destroy this foundation and give our rival's attack -3 speed. If we have played an action card this turn, draw 1 card. We don't play any action cards in this deck, so you can just ignore that part. But what we use this for is if our opponent is attacking us, we can pop this foundation and then give that attack -3 speed, so it's easier for us to block. Next up, we have 4 calling for backups. This card works really well with Iida because it says enhance flip. Draw 1 card. If this attack was not the first enhance, played this enhanced step, discard 1 card. So effectively, in a lot of other decks, this foundation is not that good because you have to discard a card if this is not the first enhance played. But with Iida, you can pretty much guarantee that you get to play the first enhance because when your opponent attacks you, you can respond after your opponent plays an attack. You can play the first enhance ability during its enhance step. So you respond with Iida, get the first enhance, flip calling for backup, draw a card, and then because you played that first enhance, you don't have to discard a card afterwards. You just +1 on their attack. But additionally, you can use this on your own attack, and if you use it on your own attack, you just draw a card and hopefully it's an attack. If it's an attack, that means that you can push out more damage. But if it's not an attack card, hey, at least you got an extra card to block with, or you might even draw a card that you needed to find to build into your staging area. So this card is very good for utility. The last card of our spam is 4 copies of Tape. This card is very good because it has 2 abilities. You can enhance flip to change the attack zone into a mid attack. So that way, for example, if you have a mid block in your hand and your opponent's attacking with a high attack, what you can do is you can flip Tape, change it to a mid, and all of a sudden you have that mid block. You just blocked their high attack, but it was changed to a mid. Additionally, about Tape, this card can also flip to give a mid attack -2 speed. Giving cards -2 speed will allow you easier to be blocked. Now next for our 2 diff foundations, we play 4 copies of Harden. And this is going to be compared closely to Heroic Lineage, and I'll show you why I play 4 copies of Harden instead of playing 4 copies of Heroic Lineage, because both of these cards give damage. Now the reason why I like playing Harden over Heroic Lineage as a 4X is that I love the 2 high block. The 2 high block means that I can block high attacks more often, and in the My Hero Academia meta, there are more strong and used attacks that are high and mid attacks than there are low attacks. Low attacks are still in the meta and they're going to be there, but in most cases you're going to want to make sure that you have those high blocks ready because there's going to be a lot of strong high attacks out there and you gotta have them ready. That's why we have Harden as a 4X. What I also like Harden over Heroic Lineage is that you have the enhanced commit, give your attack +2 damage. So that's an enhanced ability and you can use that anytime you want. And the difference is Heroic Lineage is a responsibility on both of its abilities. So responses are a little bit different because they're conditional, and because they're conditional, that means that it's checking for something before you can even have a chance to play the ability. So you can't really activate it on will, you just have to have the correct setup to use the ability. In Heroic Lineage's case, you have to response commit this card, and then after your attack gets a speed bonus, you can give it +2 attack. So in a lot of ways, it's giving the same value, numeric value as Harden, but this one is more conditional. This one you can fire off anytime you want. And that is the reason why we play 4 copies of Harden. Play 4 copies of Natural Leader. This card is an amazing foundation that I just choose to play 4X, and I'm copying Shane because Shane really knows the value of this card. So what you can do with this foundation is pretty much it can boost the speed of all attacks in our deck because our attacks are going to be either a kick or they're going to be a mid attack. So you don't really have to worry about not being able to use this card in our deck. So with Natural Leader, because My Hero Academia is a math game, you can usually count your opponent's resources. It's all part of a math equation to know what are the chances that your opponent can block your attack. So what you can do is when you're attacking and you figure that part of the math problem, to know that, okay, your opponent still has a chance of blocking this attack, Natural Leader is a great card because you can commit it, give it +2 speed, and all of a sudden, now you know that there is no chance your opponent can block Engine Rush. It has another ability which is really strong. It is a first enhanced commit. You choose one rival foundation. Abilities on the chosen card cannot be played for the rest of the enhanced step. So what you can do is when you're attacking, you effectively use the first enhance. It has to be the first enhance that you play during the attack. You do that, and then you can choose one of your opponent's like defensive foundations, shut that off. They can't be able to use it for the rest of the attack's enhanced step, and then you are safe to run wild. And if you're attacking again, so for example, we play, Hardened Jab next up, and we have a second copy of Natural Leader, we can actually use Natural Leader again because it is a new attack. We have the first enhance of this attack, and then we just use the first enhance commit, and then target the same card, for example, and then they won't be able to use that card either. Last but not least of the deck, we have our one-offs. We already talked about Heroic Lineage, about the attack boost. That is nice. It is also a low block, and it also has a response commit. After your rival attacks receives a damage bonus, it gets -3 speed. Even though this part of the ability is a conditional response ability, so your opponent has to have the damage buff, and then you can -3 speed. This is still a very good card because in most cases you're not really going to want help to block an attack unless it's like a really high damage attack. And in My Hero Academia, there are plenty of ways to boost the attack of attack cards, and then once those boosts happen, you can give it -3 speed. It's easier to block. We play one copy of Fulfilled My Duty. This card is a great card, but it's not going to be amazing in every situation because depending on the deck, there aren't many cards in My Hero where you want to stop your opponent from being able to play any enhances at all during the attack. In most cases, attacks in My Hero are actually very well manageable because all you have to do is just block the attack. But in the event that you come across an attack that you don't want your opponent to play any enhances, we play one copy of Fulfilled My Duty, and what this does is when you destroy this, you end the enhanced step. This is even more powerful in Iida because Iida has the ability to give us the first priority in playing the first enhance during our opponent's attack. So we get the first enhance, we use Fulfilled My Duty as the first enhance, we pop this, and then your opponent cannot play enhance abilities on their attack card. We play one copy of Coordinated Effort. This is a really good card to have in our deck because it says response commit. After your blocked attack resolves, you build it face down. By having this card in our staging area, what we can do with it is if for some reason your opponent managed to block one of your attacks, that means that your attack is not going to go to your momentum, it didn't deal damage, and you know what, with Engine Rush it wasn't even blocked, so you don't even get to draw 2 cards. But with Coordinated Effort, what this does is your blocked attack can go into your staging area, so you activate Coordinated Effort, Engine Rush goes into our staging area face down, and now all of a sudden we just +1 into our resource zone in our staging area, so we can use Engine Rush as a face down foundation for the rest of the game to be used to push out more attacks. We can use this to block. It's just a good +1 resource. Additionally, this is a very good synergetic card to Hardened Jab because Hardened Jab says you can add a face down card from your staging area to your hand. So if we played an attack earlier throughout the game, we can add that face down foundation into our hand, and then boom, there we go. We have another attack to play throughout the turn. And the final card we play in this deck is one copy of Think Fast. With this card, we can use it to commit one foundation and change the zone of our attack. So if for some reason we know that our opponent doesn't have a high or a low block, what we can do is we can change our attack into the other zone, and then all of a sudden your opponent has a high block, you made it into a low attack, they can't block. And what's also nice is this is a good speed and damage bonus, because if you enhance, commit a foundation, it has to be a separate foundation, because the bonus is not a playable while committed. So you commit a different foundation and you change the zone of your attack. This is a really good card for Flying Thruster Kick because you can change Flying Thruster Kick into a low attack, and then you can give it +1 speed, +1 damage. All of a sudden your Flying Thruster Kick has +1 speed and +1 damage without using Iida, so now it can get a +2 damage bonus just because you did that with Think Fast. And the last great thing about this card, it is a 1 mid block, so that is going to be very useful if your opponent is attacking you in mid. You can use this as a block to make sure that you don't take that damage. And to top this deck off, our block ratio rundown is 18 high blocks, 17 mid blocks, and 15 low blocks. I want to shout out a couple other content creators. Thank you to Ty from Ty's House of Cards and Shane Duckworth for inspiring me to make UVS content. I recommend you guys, if you haven't checked out their UVS content, please visit their channels. I will be leaving links in the description below. Check out their YouTube channel. They have deck profiles for Universus and My Hero, and Ty's House of Cards has a tutorial video that you can watch to learn how to play Universus, so definitely go and check that out. Another thing that you might be interested in is a Discord community that myself and Ty from Ty's House of Cards have made. This Discord server is a way for us to connect with our audience, so we will be able to deck tech with you guys, answer any questions, and may even also be able to play some games. So the link to the Discord server is going to be in the description below. If you want to hit us up, we'll be in that server. Thanks for watching the deck profile. Please let me know if you are enjoying the content by leaving a like, a subscribe, and even a comment.